Okay, hi everybody, it's Sam. I know it's been a really long time, and I'm sorry, but stuff happened that I had made a reading video of me reading this. So I'm probably not going to do so many chapters because my sister's boyfriend wants the laptop, so I'll probably just read maybe a little bit, Chapter 7. Tess's father was staring at his computer monitor when she slipped the permission forms in front of him. He had been in his home office since he got home at 5. There was no sign of dinner preparations. At 6, he had come out and told her to find something in the freezer for dinner because her mother was delayed at the office. He wasn't hungry. Tess and her 7-year-old brother had eaten alone again. "I need your signature for school," she told him. He barely glanced at her. "You can sign my name." "Okay," she took it away. "I can even talk to myself about why I don't like the project." "What?" "Nothing, I'll do it." Mr. Norville's smile was distracted. "That's my girl." "She didn't leave. What time is Mom coming home?" "Hard to say," he answered after a minute. "Do you want me to put Petey to bed?" She interpreted his nod as a yes. "Maybe I'll read to him. He likes Charlie in the Chocolate Factory." No response. "You might try reading to him sometime. I bet he'd like that." That earned her a glance. "I have a lot of work to do yet tonight." "How about closing the door behind you when you go?" She did. Tess went back in the living room where Petey was sitting in front of the TV. "Well, I guess it's just you and me. How about hopping into your pajamas? We'll see what Charlie is up to." Chapter 8. What's this for?" Ira's father asked as he examined the permission form that night. They had just finished dessert, homemade apple pie, Mr. Martinick's specialty. Ira paused from chug-lugging a glass of milk. What the heck? "It's for school, the Argus project." "It's an experiment," his mother said. "Some doctor at the university is programming the kids and making them into robots." "Hey, I'm in 11th grade. I'm already a robot." Ira put down his glass, stiff and mechanical. He walked into the stove. He clicked. Then he turned his head toward his mother, laughing. She dogged behind her chair. Mr. Martinick took a pen from his shirt pocket. "Sounds good to me." He leaned the forms against the refrigerator and scrawled his signature. "Here," he said as he handed them back. "If you come back without a command installed about taking out the trash, I'm going to complain." "Thanks, Dad," Ira said. He clicked again and jerked in what he hoped was a robotic-like manner. His father clicked back. He struck himself in the forehead with his pen. Mr. Martinick reached into the cupboard and handed her husband a container of sewing machine oil. "Enjoy," she said. Parents. Wednesday, November 29th, 1. "It's like a computer game at the university," Mac explained to his father before he left for school the next morning. "Like an arcade game. Educational." His dad seemed only mildly awake. He'd had a heavy night. Judging from the lipstick on the cigarette butts in the ashtray, Mac had a heavy night of his own with some of the guys. Right now, his head felt like it could be left on the pavement and carted off by the city. "Guess this program can't hurt," his father said at last. "At night, huh? What's the matter? They're not satisfied with sticking you in a desk for 10 hours a day?" "It's computer stuff," Mac mumbled. "Hey, your lady friend must have left early. I didn't see her." His old man shrugged and headed toward the bathroom. "You didn't miss much. Some nights you take what you can get, right?" Not yet, he didn't. It was time for Mac to leave for school, so he picked up his jacket. He paused outside the bathroom door. "Are you going to be around later?" Water was running in the sink. "Hard to say. Why? Do you have something on for tonight?" "Nah, I'll probably hang out. I don't suppose you've heard any more from that football scout?" "Not yet." Mac left for school. Again, 2. I think each one of the days have chapters. So, chapter 2 for that day. Mac Radford was working at the computer in his bedroom, had been for days, and slept 3 hours and then woke up to curse 3 hours lost. Someone was knocking crap. His mother, he assumed. Something about food, laundry, fresh air, sunshine. He was 20, not Mommy's little fair-haired boy. He was trying to concentrate to force his thoughts back into the rigid order like someone recovering from a fever. Interruptions only created more chaos. Rapping became more insistent. What now? He yelled without taking his eyes off the screen. Wait a minute. He yelled without taking his eyes from the screen. The rent he paid should give him the right to work in peace. She couldn't even nag him about getting a job. When he was 14, he had developed a program that was a recognized part of virtual reality research. He had already earned all the money that he'd ever need. The door opened slowly behind him. He tensed when he heard Sarah's timid voice. Your mom said it was okay for me to come up. She says you've hardly been downstairs for days. He didn't turn, but he could see her shadowy reflection in the monitor. She was a slim girl of 19, her thinness accentuated by the blue work shirt she wore over her jeans. I've been busy. Your mother said I'm busy, he interrupted. Probably his mother had told Sarah he wasn't eating. Probably she told her he hadn't slept since Sarah broke up with him. Either accept that his mother could only guess about that. He hit the wrong key. Damn. Abruptly, he swirled around in his chair to face her. Sarah cringed back, her eyes widened her pale face. So why are you here? He demanded. Sarah moistened her lips nervously. I'd like that book of poetry I loaned you. What book? Then he remembered the thin volume of love poetry that used to belong to her grandmother. He'd had it for maybe 4 months. Sarah had planted it on him. Oh, Michael, it wasn't that he didn't read books. He read lots of books. Technical manuals, not poetry. Just take a look at them. Her smile had been sad. Honestly, it won't hurt at all. Right, he tried to remember where it was, then spotted it in his shelves next to a well-thumbed volume on computer viruses. He stood holding the book close to him, so she had to move nearer to take it from his hand. Neither he nor Sarah was particularly tall. One of the first things he had noticed about her, the girls who were his height always seemed to be looking for basketball players. Sarah treasured brains. Right now she was as cautious as that alley cat that his mother used to try to tempt with hamburger. She seemed ready to dart away at any sudden motion. He forced himself to speak quietly. Sarah, you're being ridiculous. She hugged the book to her chest. No, I don't think so. You can't believe everything that Argus told you. His voice was getting louder. You know that. Argus is about as scientific as the daily horoscope. Too late, he remembered that Sarah read her forecast every morning. You're too smart for that. He wasn't a student at the university, but he came into the campus often to use the library to hear the occasional lecture. He'd met Sarah there the previous December on the 7th. He'd been interested when he first heard of Argus, which he judged to be in the early stages of development. After Sarah said she was signing up, he looked into it more closely. The Finstadter Foundation didn't use the university's mainframe, so he'd strolled in one day to take a closer look. He already had the access codes for every part of the campus, but in this case all he did was look like he belonged there. Then wait until the program director went out for a smoke. He figured that Sarah would find the program interesting. It was supposed to identify trends that students might want either to concentrate on or to avoid. For her, it turned out that he was somebody to avoid. Because of a computer program, she had broken up with him. He had no idea how to say she was gullible without showing how furious he was. Instead, he reached toward her, stopping when she backed away. "Come on, we'll go out for a bite to eat." "I've been staring at the screen too long anyway." He hadn't. He was in the middle of something. "Come on," he coaxed. He tried to put his hand on her arm, but instead ended up with his fingertips brushing the book. "I'll read your poems, okay? Hey, maybe I'll even write a book report." His feeble joke went flat. She stood firm. "I don't know nearly as much about computers as you do, and I know that Argus doesn't read the future, but it saw me, Michael. I could see myself." Her voice was becoming stronger. "I've always been attracted to boys with tempers. You fit the pattern." He had already told her that he didn't fit anybody's pattern. Michael was superior. He spent his entire life being accelerated through school until he dropped out from sheer boredom. "Michael, I've decided that I need counseling before I get involved with anyone else." "I've never hurt you." He hadn't, but right now his fingers itched to grab her and shake sense into her. She took a step back. As she knocked against the door, jammed, the book fell out of her hand onto the braided rug. He put his foot on it. "Stay," he pleaded, even though he was humbling himself. "Please, Sarah, or let's go somewhere and talk. We can work this out. You said you wouldn't go into counseling with me." "I don't need counseling. Everybody needs help sometimes." All he needed was her. Not needed. He didn't need anything. He wanted her, like he wanted air or water. "Sarah." She knelt to pick up the book. He knelt with her, feeling as though they were in church with her book of love poems between them. The screen-saving function on his computer had darkened the blue screen. He could still feel it there behind him, looking over his shoulder. He heard footsteps on the stairs. "I didn't come alone," Sarah said. So that was it. She found another guy. Michael shot to his feet, and the book flew across the rug towards the door. He followed it, jerking the door wide so that it scraped across the book jacket. Outside stood a second girl, a stranger. "Hi," she greeted him warily. "Is Sarah here?" As though she weren't a few feet away. "Sarah, you said we were going to a movie." This was obviously something the two girls had set up between them. Sarah stood shakily and nodded, then headed toward the hall. She turned back. "Michael, please take care of yourself." She was still speaking as he slammed the door shut so he didn't have to look at her face anymore. Even so, he could still hear her last two words, "I'm sorry." He stood there staring at the door. Damn her. He kicked the wastebasket next to his desk. Damn. With one wave, he knocked over all the books from his top shelf onto the floor. Then he noticed the book that she had left behind on the floor. He picked it up and opened it. "To my own sweet Sarah, her grandmother forever, your Fred." Michael smoked sometimes, though not often. His ashtray contained dice used for gaming. He removed them. Carefully, he ripped the dedication page into thin strips, making a nest in the ashtray. Touching a match to the strips, he watched her grandparents' names sizzle and hiss like infant snakes. He processed through the entire books. "Can you wait?" I want to look at this. That way, at last, he tossed the covers into the wastebasket. "I'll buy you a box." It was done over.
There's
Empty.
green apple, strawberry, cherry,
The
orange,
blind
watermelon.
computer monitor beckoned him. "Be careful, honey. Don't make the camera go off."
I got this for my teacher.
To him like a friend, he returned to his chair and answered its call. The monitor welcomed him with its brilliant blue light. He leaned back to his chair. Smoke from the loaf poems filled his mouth and lungs, stung his eyes. He picked up an ordinary six-sided dice and rolled it around in his hands. No, it wasn't quite over. Not just yet. He had a score to settle.
Can we do that thing that you promised?
Make a flower?
Yeah.
After I'm done with this. He picked up a pamphlet that Sarah had given him weeks earlier. It described Argus as creating something similar to a dream site. There were dreams, and then there were nightmares. He threw the die. Okay, that's the end of this one, because somebody's wanting my help. Bye.